Hey all, it's Nana from Yessie and Nana once again, back at it with the videos. But anyway, so this time, as you probably noticed, I am driving. So it takes about 30 minutes for me to go home, so we're probably gonna make the video the whole time, and be safe. The reason why I decided to do it straight after work is because the issue popped up at the end of it, which is kind of bothering me. But I just wanted to address it. I'll get back into my, love life story or non-love life story after I get this off my chest. So when somebody is being, extra, stupid, I guess, just extra silly, however you want it, just being ridiculous, and as they always say, common sense isn't that common, just being ridiculous, I call them retarded. I say the word retarded, and I find it interesting that people these days are still offended by it, because I have a coworker who is associated with somebody who I guess has a mental illness, or is mentally disabled in some form or fashion. So he finds offense to that. But again, I sat back today and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, so he is, he's older. I'm 23, he's in his late 30s or in his 30s, but just a generation ago, people were calling on people with mental illnesses or disabilities, they were calling them mentally retarded. And I kind of want to sit down and explain to him that he'll probably be offended by it, but that person that you have with a mental illness or disability and you're associating him with this word retarded is sad on your part, because being retarded is talking about somebody's not really about how smart they're acting or how smart they are or whatever. I wouldn't call anybody with a mental disability or a mental illness retarded. I wouldn't call them mentally retarded, because that's insulting to them, because it's not their fault. It's not their, they're like, okay, so I'm just gonna do this even though I know I shouldn't. That's retarded. They have an actual issue, and unfortunately it has to do with their mental capacity. But again, it's not their choice. If you choose to have your mental capacity questioned, then that's on you. That's a choice. If you don't have a choice about it, so it's something you cannot control, it's an illness or a disability, they're not retarded. There have been studies shown that people with mental illnesses or mental disabilities, whatever you want to call it, or whatever side of the scale it is, they've done studies where they're smarter than the rest of us most of the time. So it's retard really means somebody, stupid. That it's a very strong word for stupid. So I find it, I want to talk to him about it. I don't know how well he's going to take it, but I'm going to talk to him about it and, see where it goes from there. Also, I would like to know your guys' opinions between retarded and and the correlation that you feel or don't feel that it has with mental illness, people with mental illness or people with mental disabilities. And for me, illness and disabilities, I separate the two, because I believe that an illness, like a mental illness, is something that you're born with, that you get. You can get it. A mental disability is something that happens to you. I mean, you could also be born with a mental disability, I guess. But I feel like it's more like, you got hit in the head too many times, so it caused this, that, and the other. That's a disability. But if you were born with it, it's it's an illness. You can't control it. You can't control how you got the disability either, but you can't control it. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. I feel better. I feel a little bit better probably talking to him and explaining my point of view a little bit better. Well, it's not even my point of view. I find it more of like a more modern point of view. And if it's not, correct me and be like, I don't think like that, and I'm, this, like tell me what year you're born, I don't know, and you're like, I'm younger than you, and I don't think that, I think the same as the other guy, whatever, just I don't know, just tell me your opinion on it. Okay, so back to my non-existent love life. So I left off talking about that last, thing from RGIS, which is, my old job. So I had mentioned, I've been hanging out with that last guy, with work and all that, the last couple months I worked there, and then I hadn't seen it again in, I think it was the end of August. So at the party, like I said, I got there early, a little early, because, I was friends, and that was the first time I've been to their house, so I was like, I was being nosy too. Like, what did it look like before everybody else get here? Anyway, so my friend was the DJ, the one that I was trying to talk to was the DJ, and that's actually started some whole other drama. Anyway, so, he was, setting up, and then he had to go get ready or whatever, and yada yada yada. He got like drinks, and when he came back he had like some alcohol on him and all that. So yeah, so we were doing that, and then he came back, and I was already kind of tipsy because we had started drinking, like they had alcohol there before, so we were just chilling and all that. And then I was standing next to him, and we were talking to one of our other friends, and he was all like, hey man, do you have a condom? And he was all like, I look at him like, what? And he's all like, our other friend I had mentioned, like, no, like, I don't have one. He's like, oh, that sucks. And I was just looking at him like, what the hell? Like, what are you asking for a condom for? And he's all like, why are you looking at me like that? You're sleeping next to me. I'm like, holy crap. So in my head, I wasn't 100% sure, because, like, he hadn't said anything like that. I mean, we, like, when we were at work and, we were in hotels, we did cuddle in the bed together. We was like, oh, boo, but it was kind of hot. Should have put on less, I should have put on thinner pajamas, but it was in the colder time. Anyway, we did cuddle in the hotels that we have for work and all that. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so he's like, I was like, what? So that, like I said, it hadn't like connected for me yet. I was all like, oh, we turn it into best friends or whatever. But he was all like, you're the one sleep. I was like, so in my head, I'm like, are you like, what, you gonna have sex with me right next to you? And what blah, blah. I was like, or maybe he was talking about having sex with me. I'm like, I don't know, like, which one is it? So, like, I didn't know which one it was. So we, the night went on and on and on. And so, we did play spin the bottle like a whole bunch of middle school kids. I did kiss him and spin the bottle. I didn't kiss anybody else, so I was just all messed up. I was like, okay, I don't want nobody else's mouth on me except somebody I know enough. And all those people I met that day, so I was like, I ain't about to have you macking on me. I know your mouth, man. So yeah, so we kissed then. He told me I was a good kisser. I was like, thanks. I haven't kissed that many people, but I'm a good kisser, so that works. And then I don't know for sure how many people he kissed, but he said I was a good kisser, so I took the compliment. Anyway, so then we like almost pretty much pulled an all-nighter. We didn't fall asleep until like 6 o'clock the next morning, and I was cuddled up with my friend, and he was like kissing a little bit, rubbing on my butt a little bit. I like, since that was going down, he had said something about somebody's boxers. He's like, oh, I was like, oh, hand me those because I ain't wearing any. He's like, what? He didn't understand me. I was like, dude, I ain't got no panties on right now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Anyway, but he had no condom. And then I was like, feeling something up, and he was all like, what are you doing? And I'm like, okay. And I said he was filling me up, so he was like all up on my butt. He's like, ooh, your booty big. And I was like, I worked hard on the thing. So he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, telling him about some piercings I had. That'll be a whole nother video. Piercing I had, and he was like, oh my god, I didn't even notice, blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, how you not know this? Anyway, so then yeah, that ended, and the next day he was kind of weird about it. Like, I was like, dude, what do you know? Well, let's see. Yeah, no, then later in the morning he's kind of weird about it, but I was like, whatever. So then after that, we hadn't we said something, shooted each other like a message on Instagram or whatever, commented on something and stuff like that. So then he hits me up and he's like, oh, let's go to horror nights. And I'm like, why not? Never been to Universal Studios, sounds like fun. So we go to horror nights, and while that was about to go down, he sends me a picture, and it's a sexy picture, and I was just like, oh, what is this? And he's like, it's something I would do. I'm like, oh, okay. So I asked him about it. I was like, so what's up with that picture? And he's like, oh, it's just something I would do. I was like, okay, so what's up with that? And he was all like, oh, nothing. So he offered, and then he took it back. And I'm like, are we gonna do this, or are we not? You because you pretty much acting like we gonna do this, but then you're like, no. I'm like, what? Anyway, so that dead. So we go we actually went to horror nights twice, but then time goes by, and then we're messaging off and on, and half of his messages are suggestive, the other is just normal conversation. And so then we get to the end of it, and suggestive again. We end up going out with some of his friends, and I was like, woo, dancing, twerking it, backing it up. We did dance together for one song, but I'm gonna disclose something, and he might see this, so okay. So all him and his friends know each other, right? And so they work together, or they just known each other from the past, and so I was the only new person. There was 5 of us, and I was the only new person into the group that night. And so we're all dancing and all that, and his friend, it was him and one other dude, and then there's 2 females. And so the 2 females, one goes off to go do something, I forgot it was the bathroom or go get a drink, and another one standing next to me, dancing and all that. And so we're both just dancing, all casual, because it wasn't really a song we wanted to dance to, but we didn't want to get off the dance floor either, so we just swaying back and forth, 2-step, do that 2-step. And I hear him and the other dude talking, and I didn't think I was that close to hear them, and I don't think they thought I was that close to hear them, but I guess my hearing is a little bit better than I thought, or maybe I just heard the whole wrong thing. But I believe I heard his friend ask me, hey, is that the girl you want to make your girlfriend? And I was like, who are you talking about? He said yeah after that, and I was like, who the hell are you talking about? And I'm I kept on thinking about it. I'm like, damn, I'm the only one who didn't know anybody. They all knew each other already. So it's does that mean he talking about me? Or is they saw something on the phone because they had went to do something together in the club. And so yeah. And so I still don't know to this day. That was a month ago. A month ago from this video. So then another thing that happened that night, he's made them before, but he just kept on making them, and it started to bother me because of past issues, is that he kept on saying stuff like, oh, you're black, oh, it's because you're black, I'm scared or hesitant because I never been with a black girl before. And so I pretty much asked him, do you have an issue with me being half black or something? What? And he's like, how can you ask me that? My best friend's half black, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, this has nothing to do with your best friend or not. I had people tell me that before, legit, it's because you're black, or I don't know if I could do that with a black girl and blah, blah, blah. I'm not black. Not 100%. And I wasn't raised by the black side of my family. I was raised by, the Latin side of my family. My mom raised us with strong Latin values because that's who I was raised by, and she was raised with strong Latin values. So we follow those values. And, people, just, look at my face or whatever, and he seemed to forget that. But the thing is that I dug a little deeper into it, and I asked around, and the guy's Mexican, and they're like, yeah, a lot of Mexican people say that, and it's because now we're getting into history anyway, but they're like, they say that because there's not a lot of not a lot. There are some, but not a lot. A lot of Mexican people that have the African descent in it, and it mixed into their blood, so they don't have a lot of people walking around with super curly hair, super kinky curly hair. But you do have that in Central America, the Caribbean, South America. So they don't care. They're like, that's why you always see half black, half Puerto Rican, half black, half Dominican. You see some of them, but you don't really see a lot of half black, half Mexicans. And so usually with Mexican people, I've noticed that they get with a white person. Sometimes I actually seen quite a bit of half Mexican, half Filipinos. I found it interesting. But yeah, if you guys have any other observations like that to comment on, or if you disagree. But like I said, I've confronted him about it. He was all insulted because his best friend's half black, and I explained to him, it doesn't really have to do with, it does have to do with what he said, but it doesn't have anything to do with your best friend. Yeah, she probably had other, if she didn't have an issue with this, she has other mixed girls issues. Being mixed is hard. You're not black enough to hang out with black people, and you're not Latin enough to hang out with Latin people. And I had another issue, is that my mom had us living in dominantly Caucasian areas. So I mean, you might be able to hear it a little bit or not. I pronunciate everything, and I speak like a Caucasian person, however you want to say it. People are like, oh, you're whitewashed. I'm like, dude, I don't act like these other kids do. If you see how they act, you'd be like, never mind, I just speak similar to them. I still got my slang, and I still got my Latin flavor or whatever, but I don't so it's and then so because of that, I was I wasn't black or Latin enough to do anything with it. They're like, you sound like a white girl, what are you doing over here? And I'm like, I'm Latina, and I'm black. I'm over here because I'm part of it. They're like, no. I'm so it's just, if he's offended by the way I approached it, then that's the only part I'm sorry about. And I did apologize to him about that. So I said, in a message, I explained the entirety of the issue. And I explained that if my approach was wrong, I'm sorry. And so he never really responded after that. Upon that subject, I did, comment on a different post, and he responded back. So there was that at least. And then he did comment on something of mine, and we talked, I replied, and then he said something back, and that was it. So I don't know if that, if I was, the person that he was trying to, get with, I might have deaded it. And as I said at the beginning of it, I didn't expect, a relationship out of our thing. I was at least thought we were gonna be bumping uglies, but every now and again, because he lives in Victorville and I live in Newport. He lives in Victorville and I live in Newport. Well, technically it's not even Victorville. I think he lives somewhere else, somewhere really close by. There's 3 little towns that are pretty much connected. Anyway, and for those of you people that don't know Victorville, Newport Beach, he lives about an hour away from me. So I didn't think if we did anything, I wasn't expecting a relationship or anything like that. If it turned out that way, then I was gonna be like, hell yeah, let's go. But I wasn't like, you know, putting all my cards down for that. So like I said, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm not talking to anybody at the moment, and I don't know when I'll be talking to somebody again, or if, you know, the last dude shall resurrect himself and stuff like that. Oh, I just remembered, I did leave a boyfriend out. So I had one in middle school. Not middle school, elementary school. I left one out from elementary school. At the end of it, I forgot if I was in the 4th or 5th grade, or was it 5th and 6th? It was, you know, within that time when I was in Sacramento. I did start dating this one guy, and actually, now that I think about it, I think I had like two boyfriends out there. One I totally forgot about, and I was gonna break up with him anyway, and I was like, you know, kind of cheating and kissed this other boy before, but I was gonna break up with him anyway. I don't know what if it anyway. The only one that I really remember is, you know, with this one boy. I don't really remember the specifics of it. The only thing I really remember is that he had his friend come up to me who also asked me out, but I was like, nah, I'm good. His friend come up to me, he's like, yeah, no, he says it's over. I was like, okay. And he's all like staring at me. I'm like, what? And he's like, aren't you gonna cry or something? I'm like, no. He sends you over here to break up with me. You expect me to cry over him? Like, no. I just remember, like, you know, after that, you know, it was kind of weird, but then, you know, in the 6th grade, before I left, he, you know, kind of feeling me again, I guess. And when I was leaving, like, I think it was my last day, or it was after we went to science camp. I remember he didn't go because he got in trouble, but like I had dropped off my stuff in the after school program building that we had for our age, and I had went to go pick up my stuff because my mom was there, and I just remember like he like slapped my ass, and I was just like, ooh. But that was after we had been broken up for a little while, like I think like a whole school year or something. I do remember one time, I forgot what we were playing in the library, but we went, the way that the library set up, there was like a covered part of the bookshelves, like it was like cornered or whatever, and the teacher couldn't see what we were doing, or we were left alone, one of the two, and we went behind there, and, you know, I kissed him, because I think it was a dare. I kissed him. Yeah, that was about it. So that is my sad love life, non-existent. I have not had a serious boyfriend as of yet, and so far the only person that I have sex with sucked. So hopefully in the next couple years I can fix that, because I kind of have a goal. Once, you know, I hit 25 at the very least, I want to start looking for a serious boyfriend and stuff like that, because, you know, if I'm gonna have kids, I want them, you know, like, you know, out of my vagina, at least the first one, before I'm 30. So hopefully that goal is met, which would be awesome. And yeah, so, you know, that just to say, I hope I did not offend anyone with my, you know, rant at the beginning of this video. I just stated how I feel and how I noticed some other people, like a lot of other people feeling. If you do not feel that way, that same way, I want to know. Like, I really want to know what people think of the term retarded, because it's a negative. It's kind of like the N-word. when it comes to, you know, people with mental disabilities or mental illnesses, like retarded is like the N-word. We need to turn this around on the people who did use it. Like, the type of person that I was trying to hire was probably one of the type of people that, you know, would have called somebody mentally retarded, because the job I work for, it's like I'm helping people get hired. I process their paperwork. And, you know, they're like, you know, the small, closed-minded type of people. If they're not, then they're not. But a lot of them have shown that they are small-minded people. So, and like something super simple as like I sent the reason why this all started is because I sent this guy back his direct deposit form. And I was like, because it was halfway filled out. So I'm like, okay, so remove all the bank information since you don't want direct deposit. And so he's going to remove everything, including his name at the top. And I was like, I just said to remove bank information. So I went to go ask my boss if it was okay to have it, you know, submitted like that. And I called the guy retarded. And so the other guy, the coworker that had an issue with it, turned around and like was like, don't say that. And so she's like, and then I was like, that's just the way I talk. I had this conversation with him about this before. He said he understood. I use it way less than I did when, you know, before we had this conversation, but it slips out. I don't appreciate, you know, especially in front of someone, and not even in front of other people, you trying to scold me. Like, if you're trying to say something, you need to pull me to the side as a manager, pull me to the side, manager, boss, whatever, to pull me to the side and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to scold me in front of people. Like, that's not how it works. So that also irritated me. Anyway, so I didn't appreciate being scolded in front of people, and I don't appreciate being told that because of the way that one person thinks that I'm supposed to change the way that I talk completely. Like, I mean, it doesn't, I don't think about the word that, like, I was like, this guy's being retarded. Like, I could have said stupid, but I feel like, you know, like, when I use the word retarded, I don't just use it, you know, to use it. I use it because, like, the guy that I was dealing with, I had to keep on sending stuff back to him, and it was just a whole long ordeal. Like, it lasted like 2 whole days of constant back and forth. And I'm like, dude, you're being retarded. You're retarded right now. Like, I'm not saying like, you know, he was mentally retarded. That would be insulting other people with mental illnesses and mental disabilities. It's insulting when people say it to them, because they're not retarded. They're very intelligent. And see, whenever anybody like disputes somebody calling somebody else retarded, they're like, your intelligence. Like, retarded is like retarded and stupid are like intelligence and smart. Like, that's how I feel. And if I offended anyone because of how I feel and how I think, then I'm sorry. You can send me all the comments you want about it. I will respond. I'm just kidding. I will respond to them. And I like learning other people's point of views. That's another people are scared of. I like psychological stuff. So if you could talk to me about it, and maybe I might change my view if we have, like, you know, a conversation about it. But if you, like, the guy did like a half-ass, you know, explanation. He didn't really explain it. He just said he didn't like the word because it was associated with somebody close to him. I don't need to know the relationship that they have close to each other. But if you're going to tell me to stop using a word that I use regularly, like subconsciously all the time, like, well, not all the time, subconsciously, pretty frequent, you would need to better explain your feelings about the word. You can't just be, I'm not gonna just be like, no, like, you have to explain it. Like, I can't, like, my mom taught me to, you know, question anything and everything. So I question everything. So if you're gonna give me a half-assed explanation over why not to do something, I'm gonna give a half-assed attempt not to do it. Because, like I said, question anything and everything. If it's half-assed, it's half-assed. If you get a half-assed response, you give a half-assed response. You give half-assed effort of whatever that response is. Because I'm sorry, like I said, unless you explain it to me, I'm not gonna know. And half-assed, it's half-assed. And if you can explain to me in a constructive, intelligent way, then I'll be like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I'll try to refrain, but it just slips out. It literally does. Like, it just slips out. So, my ride home is almost done. Hopefully you guys watch this video, even though it's kind of lengthy. I hope that you guys have a excellent day, evening, night, whatever you're watching this video. And I think, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next time. We'll find out next time. I'll just have a thoughts in my head and be like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. Like I did with the whole, little rant at the beginning and end. And I part. So, deuces. See you guys some other time.